If your blush always looks like this, but you want it to look like this, girl, listen up, because this isn't cutting it anymore. Don't irritate me. Now pay attention. If you're still applying your concealer right after foundation, you're literally sabotaging your own makeup. That's why you always have that harsh line between your blush and your concealer, girl. So once you've applied a layer of your favorite foundation, skip the concealer and go straight into cream bronzer. Think of this like underpainting, but instead of doing it underneath your foundation, you're doing it underneath your concealer instead. And for cream blush, I'm using the Haus Labs blush in the shade Glassy Pomelo. And instead of taking the stick and applying it directly to my cheeks, I'm gonna use the small side of the Makeup by Mario F4 brush and use this to pick up the product. Then you want to take the brush and press it into the back of your hand. This is gonna make sure you don't apply too much product at once, preventing it from looking patchy. Applying your blush too low can leave your cheeks feeling droopy and actually make you look older. Instead, you're gonna apply this high up on your cheekbone, like really high up. You basically want to apply the blush where you would normally apply your highlighter, and then you're gonna blend it upwards into your hairline and even into your eyelids. Then you want to look up and blend the blush directly into your under eyes. We're doing this for two reasons. One, because this is going to help the concealer blend into the blush, making it look seamless. And two, because of the pink undertone of the blush, it's actually going to help color correct any darkness in your under eyes, making them look way brighter. And you don't have to go in with a second concealer or a color corrector. It literally does all the work for you. And once that's blended out, you can apply your favorite concealer. You always want to focus all the brightness right in the center of your face. You're kind of faking a spotlight on your face like you're Beyonce on stage, but right now you're giving Michelle. Now the application of your concealer is important, but it's the blending that's key to how this turns out. But before you blend anything, you have to prep your powder puff with your loose powder first. I'm using the Huda Beauty loose powder in the shade Cherry Peach. This way you can set your concealer immediately after it's blended out. Because whoever told you to wait before setting your concealer after blending it out must have hated you. Now that your powder puff is prepped, use a concealer brush to blend out the edges and create a flawless blend between the blush and the concealer first. This is a Kosas brush. Technically, I think it's for powder, but it's amazing for concealer. And make sure when you're blending, you don't want to blend the concealer too far out. You don't want the concealer to cover the blush. You want the concealer and the blush to marry together. You can even go back to that Makeup by Mario F4 brush and use the small side with whatever product is left on the brush to melt the two together. Look at how good that already looks. And once that blend looks flawless, you can look up and blend directly underneath your under eye. And I'm not buffing the brush into my under eye. That's just going to disturb the finish of the product. Instead, I'm tapping the brush up and down, almost like I'm using a beauty blender, but I'm using a brush instead. And after I use a brush, I like to switch to a clean damp beauty blender, and lightly I press this over my under eye to pick up any excess product that doesn't need to be there. Now you can switch to your already prepped powder puff and immediately set your concealer without even looking down. And this is how you get the smoothest under eye you've ever seen. And once both under eyes are blended out and set with powder, with whatever powder is left on the puff that you just used, use this to set the rest of your makeup. You never want to apply pressed powder products over wet cream makeup because it's always going to blend out patchy. So now when you apply your powder bronzer, it's actually going to look smooth and not patchy. And girl, powder blush is usually the first thing to fade off your face. So applying a powder blush over the cream blush will help it last all day long without any touch-ups. First, you want to use a warmer tone blush. This is Cheeky Chili from MAC, and you want to apply this high up on your cheekbones closer towards your hairline and going into your eyelid. Then you want to grab a pinkier blush. This is the MAC powder blush in the shade Snob, and you want to apply this on the front of your cheekbones, blending it into your under eyes. You can see the brush that I'm using is a lot fluffier, so it's going to apply a thinner amount of product, making it look a lot more diffused. This is how you start to get that really blurred, face-tuned under eye. Even side by side, you can see how the pink blush made my under eyes look just a little bit softer and more blurred, whereas this side still looks a little bit unblended. Now to really make the under eyes look face-tuned in real life, grab your favorite pressed powder. I'm using the Charlotte Tilbury airbrush powder in the shade number 2, and pick it up with that same powder puff that you used earlier. Now take that same powder puff and press it into the pink blush you literally just used, and apply this on your under eye between your concealer and your blush to create a soft filtered blur. It's literally giving filter without the filter. Once you try this out, you're never gonna do your makeup any other way. I'm telling you, just try it out and tell me I didn't tell you so. You're welcome.